Let's welcome in Sid Lowe. Sid, this is kind of a nice little microcosm of quite a lot of Real Madrid's matches so far this season, in the fact they weren't necessarily the best team, but they got the best result.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that was interesting about this, of course, was the fact that Ancelotti played the same starting 11 he always does, with the exception, of course, of Dani Carvajal, who was left out for Lucas Vazquez. After the game, Ancelotti said that one of the reasons why this game went the way that it did, after that reasonably good 20-25-minute opening from Real Madrid, he said was that Athletic Club had 2 days more to rest, that they were fresher, that they don't have European football, and so they were physically in better shape than Real Madrid. Now, of course, that's true, and it's an absolutely fine part of the analysis, and there's no real problem with that, except, of course, you played the same starting 11. So if freshness is a problem, if the physical condition of the team is a problem, then you would expect to change that team a little bit. You would expect to see Valverde or Camavinga start. You would expect Modric or Kroos to be left out the side. And I just wonder if what Ancelotti's going to try and do now, and you know, you've said it, they're 7 points clear now, is to try and get through this run of games with his strongest possible team and say, OK, and then we will rest. Because, of course, you've got Real Sociedad coming up. You've got Athletic again before Christmas. You've got Atletico Madrid in the league in a week's time as well. Sid,
obviously they've been hanging on recently. Is this them at their best sort of thing? Have they still got more to impress? Because the concern I'd be from a Real Madrid perspective is that they've been lucky and they're going to regress to the mean.
Yeah, it's very difficult to judge, isn't it? Because you're kind of caught between two truisms, and they're the kind of truisms that people like us, you know, turn to far too often, and it's not always tangible. But sometimes a team doesn't play well and they keep winning. And you think, well, that's the performance of champions. That's what a champions team does. That's what a team that's going to win does. They don't play well, but they find a way. And you feel with Real Madrid that they will always somehow find a way. And Madrid in particular, in the big games, always seem to. Whenever we think they're under pressure, whenever we think, oh, they're going up to a run where it's really, really big matches now, they've got to win them all, they tend to. And yet the flip side of that is exactly as you've just said. You sort of look at it, and exactly as Craig said before, you sort of look at it and you think, this can't continue, can it? How can it continue? And yet they still, I think, fundamentally have 3 or 4 players who are probably, in terms of the technical quality of them, better than players anyone else have got. I don't think anyone else in the league has a player as good as Kroos, a player as good as Modric, a player as good as Benzema, a player as electric and as exciting right now as Vinicius. And certainly no one has a goalkeeper like Thibaut Courtois.
So can I ask you a question? So there's always 2 ways you can go as a coach. So the one way you think he's going is that he's going to try and get through this because they're getting through it and then change it. But the other side of the coin is, does he actually trust the other ones that he has on the bench?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the reason why he's not changing it.
Well, I mean, one thing's for sure, Steve, if that is the other side of the coin, it's the other side of the same coin. I think that is part of it. I think he is looking at his squad, and I think he looks at his bench, and I don't think he sees a huge amount of guarantees there. I don't think he necessarily sees players he truly believes in. You know, Jovic and Mariano up front, I don't think he sees them as genuine replacements for Benzema, even on occasion. I think he probably does see it with Valverde and with Camavinga, and at the weekend when we spoke to him after the game against Sevilla, he said, look, it's important now that Valverde is back, and actually the question that I asked him after that game was precisely that. Look, you've got a big run coming. Are you going to rotate through the team? Because you're playing every 3 days against big teams, with the exception, and no disrespect meant, with the exception of Cardiff, every team they play between now and Christmas is a big team. And he said, well, it's important that Valverde's back. So I think we'll see some rotation there. But I completely agree with you, Steve. I think part of this is that he's looking at the squad and thinking, in terms of the depth, it's not really there.